Welcome to our Life Point Extra podcast.
Come on.
How you doing, P. Russ?
I'm doing great, man. Just got off stage. It was great.
It's fantastic.
People came to Jesus today.
I
loved
it.
it.
I loved it.
I'm
That was fantastic. I love this Advent season, man.
Yeah.
I'm such a fan. Just working through the themes of love, joy, peace, and hope.
Yeah.
And so today here at our Lake Stevens campus, you spoke a lot about peace.
Yeah. Shalom.
Shalom. I love that illustration you were talking about. Those guys walking down.
Yeah, man.
The rabbis who are just walking down. Shalom to you, brother.
Shalom to you as well, and shalom to your mama. I don't know why, but it always just comes in my mind. It just does.
I love that. And that was really the Advent topic that we were sort of talking about today. Yeah. But as you were kind of introing it and you were talking about just this holiday season for a lot of people, myself included, when you're talking about those different Advent, the different topics of Advent, it's like my life feels very opposite to that during the holiday season. And you were talking a lot about the stress and the conflict.
For sure, bro.
Through this Advent season, but then was contrasting it with, hey, we have the Prince of Peace.
Yeah.
And you're kind of making some jokes around that. But for yourself, like, how do you find peace just within yourself and within your family during the midst of the holiday season and the craziness and preparing for 30 different Christmas Eve services or whatever we have going on?
You know, man, I think it's one of those things that doesn't come easy for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, like we all have stuff going on. We all have issues swirling. We all are thinking, man, who do I invite over?
Yeah.
How's the family going to interact? Like, and in the same vein, and when we're talking about families, each person has their own issue, right? So you're trying to, for those that have children, I mean, heck, 4 out of the 5 of my kids probably have some kind of problem that their grades are bad or whatever the moment it is. And so there's all of this stuff that's swirling. And I think that's why that we take our cues from Jesus, because I don't think it was any different for him.
No.
Right? I know we talked a lot about Isaiah and all the prophecy today and all of that, but if you just look at Jesus, I mean, his way and methodology of dealing with all of the stress and all the people and the people who were leaving him, his family that was calling him crazy, that wanted to get him, institutionalized, like all of these things is real. He would take moments and go back to God. And I think it's such a simple picture for us, and yet reality of how many times are we taking a moment to meditate on God and who he is and our relationship with him. And I think that's where he really starts to speak to us when we finally take a breath.
Yeah.
But here's the chat. That's not easy to do.
No.
It's not like the world slows down.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it takes a whole lot of intentionality, which is challenging but necessary.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And it's funny because I was just thinking about it, especially when we're talking about like trying to slow down. There's a book that I've been meaning to get to, but my life is, I haven't slowed down enough to like sit and read it. By Pastor John Mark Comer, who's one of our
of course
big name around here,
course.
Right? But the ruthless elimination of hurry, right? Which stems from Dallas Willard, and you know the whole idea of like what does it look like to slow our life down?
Dude, you need to watch that or listen to that on 2x speed. That's what you need to do.
I know. I'm like
ruthlessly eliminate hurry by watching it on 2x speed.
Yeah, I'm typically like a 1.4
Are you?
on Audible. That's typically my go-to. Yeah.
I don't even know if you're allowed to listen to that book on anything other than one.
I know, but it's funny though, especially when you're talking about all this Advent themes.
Yeah.
One of the thoughts that I'm preparing for next week at Marysville, one of the things I heard, I thought it was so.
Come
good.
on, you're speaking next week at Marysville.
So this is
I just heard that drop just real quick. Oh my gosh! Here we go.
But they were talking about how. That if you just think of those Advent themes as emotions, that you miss the point. That if you just think of love as an emotion, or joy as an emotion, hope or peace as an emotion, that you're missing a piece of it.
Come on, preach, Pastor Andrew.
It's also a choice.
That's right.
Love is a choice, and
it's a verb.
It's a verb. It's something that you do.
That's right.
And I am learning that very quickly as I am in marriage, that love is a choice.
Love is dishes, bro.
Absolutely.
Love is laundry.
Absolutely. And the same is true for peace. That peace, while there may be chaos going on around us, that there is an active choice that we get to have in the peace that we get to have in our life.
It is.
And then if we just allow everything that's going on around us to dictate our levels of stress and anxiety, then yeah, we're not going to be very peaceful.
Yeah, but the challenge with all of that is that we get that cognitively, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like even today, I said that it's an inside job, not an outside one,
Yeah.
And cognitively we understand that, but man, to actually put that into practice.
Yeah.
But again, when you do, your life is changed.
Yeah.
Their situations start to change, and not necessarily overnight, but the way you view things, your mindset, all of it begins to change, which is powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, and even in your message, you touched on that verse in John 14 where he talks about giving us a peace that transcends understanding.
Sure.
Right? Which is super hard for, I think, for a lot of us to really like understand. But for yourself, as you're sort of unpacking that verse, like how would you go about maybe trying to find moments of peace or find that peace that transcends understanding, even when we're in the midst of the chaos, right?
Gosh, dude. Just coming out with some easy questions, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, listen, in the past, I used to do the whole, count to 10, and I used to do the whole. Oh, well, I used to try to find things that I did that I loved and I had joy doing, right? And it tried to give me some peace. But here was the problem with going and playing basketball as one of the instances, because I love doing that. It was I would have joy for that moment, and then I'd come back to reality of I still have a bunch of things swirling around me. And so I know this might sound strange or too rudimentary or whatever, but I really do probably, man, at least every 2 hours a day, every hour a day, I really try to stop, take a breath, and in that breath, I literally say the name of God. And I'm just going to get practical with you. This is how I do it.
Yeah.
That I take a breath and I say the name of God. I just say Yahweh. And I try to think about him. And in that moment, here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about him and who he is, but also who he's made me, where I'm trying to have my authentic self, Rusty, who he created, trying to understand that person more as I understand him better. And in that, trying not to go through the anxiety loop and trying not to go through the what ifs and all of the things, and have all of this stuff berating me, but try to put my focus upon him, knowing that he can solve the problem far greater than I ever will be. So that's really just a simple practice that I've been trying to put in place now, where it's almost, where here's what it's been for years and years and years, for thousands of years, is actually been called breath prayers.
Yeah.
And you breathe, and your prayers are just that.
Yeah.
They're just breathing and just focusing on who God is.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I heard a pastor mention, he said specifically about the name of Yahweh, that it sounds like a breath for a reason, that as you're just going about and you're living your life, like you can just breathe out the name of God.
Isn't it amazing? Like how God
Yahweh,
literally just puts his own self into the very breath that we have.
Yeah.
Come on, won't God do that?
That's so good. That's so good. I mean, that's fantastic advice. Just super practical of, hey, how we can maybe try to slow down a little bit, find some peace in the midst of this crazy holiday season that we all get.
Which I love.
Love it.
I love it. 100% I love it.
Yeah.
But I also need to be able to connect with God in it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you, Pastor Rusty, for joining us
man.
today. Thank you for joining us here at the Life Point Extra podcast.
And you got to watch Pastor Andrew speak next week.
Yeah,
hey,
join us in
Marysville. If I don't see anybody here in Lake Stevens, it's because everybody's in Marysville. I'm in.
Oh man, it's gonna be fantastic. But yeah, thank you again for joining us today. Thank you for checking us out. If you are, we would love for you to stay connected with us. Make sure you like and subscribe to just stay up to date with all of our content and more content that's going to be coming out, even more podcasts. And we're just so grateful for you joining us. We'll see you again next time.